Welcome back to Kieu Dung's channel. Today, we continue our journey with Sung Luyen and Kieu Dung. We will follow the mother and child as they head up the mountain to harvest vegetables for sale and learn how they cultivate their own vegetable garden. Here are the two of them, Sung Luyen and her child, each carrying a basket on their back to hold the vegetables and fruits. They walk up a trail leading to the mountain, surrounded by trees. The path ascends to a high peak where one can enjoy the breathtaking scenery. The mother and child continue their trek, and in the early morning, clouds envelop the tall mountain. From the mountaintop, one can see the entire field below.
After a long journey of climbing the mountain, Sung Luyen and her child sat down by the roadside to rest and regain their strength. Once they had rested and recovered, the two of them continued on their way to gather vegetables to sell for a living. After the exhausting climb, they finally reached the vegetable garden at the top of the mountain. The cabbage garden was in full bloom throughout the area, and being on the high mountain, mist still surrounded the vegetable garden.
Sung Luyen gently set her daughter's basket down on the ground, and the two of them held hands as they walked into the vegetable garden. She placed the basket down and picked a branch of mustard flower for her little girl. Then she began to cut each cabbage and put them into the basket. The cabbages were quite large, as they were grown on the high mountain with moist, fertile soil. After filling a basket, the two of them started to head back. The path was slippery due to the morning dew, making it very treacherous. It was quite a challenge for a woman to carry a heavy load of cabbages on her back while holding her child's hand as they walked on the slick trail. Finally, mother and daughter Sung Luyen returned home and continued with the night of selling the cut cabbages. On their way to the market, a man on a motorcycle suddenly passed by and called for them to stop. After a brief exchange, the man bought all the cabbages from the two of them. She carefully placed each cabbage into a sack for the man. After receiving the money, both mother and daughter were very happy. After selling the cabbages, they returned to their small house. One quiet morning, Sung Luyen and her little daughter set out on a long walk to the market. They didn't have a vehicle, so step by step, mother and child made their way down the country path, their hearts full of hope for the small garden they were tending at home. When they finally arrived at the market, Luyen carefully looked through the seed stalls. She wanted to find just the right vegetable seeds, the kind that would grow well in the soil of their little garden. She studied each packet with care, thinking of how the plants would one day spring up green and fresh. With the money she had just earned from selling cabbages, she paid for the seeds and gently placed them into her bag. She also picked out a small treat, some candy for her daughter, Kieu Dung, whose eyes lit up with joy. Before heading home, Luyen stopped by another shop to buy a few more seed varieties. She knew that every little choice today would shape the harvest tomorrow. Back at home, she went straight to her herb garden behind the house. With a hose that carried water from the nearby stream, she patiently watered each plant, one by one. As the cool water soaked the roots, she imagined how the garden would soon grow, full of life and blessings for her small family.
The rows of cilantro that Sung Luyen had planted earlier were now growing beautifully, filling the little garden with a fresh green fragrance. This herb wasn't just ordinary, it carried with it the taste of home. When eaten fresh with chili fish sauce, it was wonderfully flavorful. And when added to a pot of chicken soup, it turned a simple meal into something truly special. As Luyen gently watered the herbs of the back of the house, her little daughter stayed inside for a while, unwrapping the candies her mother had bought for her at the market. For the girl, those sweet treats were more than just candy. They were a reward, a little treasure given by her hardworking mother after the long and tiring trip up the mountain to harvest cabbages to sell. Each bite tasted of love, sacrifice, and the warmth of family. The little girl ate happily, savoring every piece. At the same time, she listened to her mother's gentle voice calling out from the garden, teaching her how to recognize the different kinds of vegetable seeds they had just brought home. It was not just about seeds. It was about passing down knowledge, teaching patience, and preparing her child for life's responsibilities. When she had finished her candy, the girl ran outside, her small footsteps quick and light, eager to join her mother in the garden. Together, they began planting the new seeds. Luyen dug little holes in the soft soil with her hands, while her daughter carefully dropped in the tiny seeds one by one. It was a simple rhythm. The mother prepared the earth, and the daughter gave the seeds a home. Under the golden afternoon light, the two of them worked side by side, row by row. For Luyen, it wasn't just planting vegetables. It was planting lessons of life into her daughter's heart. She wanted the girl to learn that from the smallest seed, with care and patience, something nourishing and beautiful could grow. And one day, when her daughter was grown, she would know how to do these things on her own. Not only to feed herself, but to carry forward the spirit of hard work and love for family. Their laughter and quiet conversations mixed with the sound of water and the whisper of the breeze. In that humble garden, surrounded by simple rows of vegetables, a bond of love and hope was being sown, one seed at a time.
Sung Luyen kept digging small holes, her hands moving swiftly yet carefully, as if every row of soil was something precious to be cherished. Little Kieu Dung skipped around happily, clutching the small bag of seeds. Each time she tossed a handful into the ground, she giggled and called out, "Mom, I finished planting this row." Her mother looked at her with a tender smile that glowed beneath the fading light of the sun. She gently reminded, "You must drop the seeds one by one, not too quickly. Every seed needs its own place to grow, just like people. They need time before they can truly thrive." The girl's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Carefully, she picked up each tiny seed, placing it into the soft earth and covering it with her small hands. Though clumsy, her actions were filled with excitement and joy. A cool breeze swept through, rustling the bamboo trees behind the house, as if nature itself was keeping pace with the mother and child. In the distance came the sounds of barking dogs, clucking hens, and the steady chorus of crickets announcing the end of the day. Row after row, they continued planting.
From time to time, Luyen paused to scoop water from the nearby stream with a bamboo ladle, gently pouring it over the freshly seeded rows. The cool water soaked into the soil like a quiet promise of life yet to come. "Mom," the little girl whispered as she planted another seed, "when I grow up, I'll be just as good at planting as you are." Her mother nodded softly, her heart swelling with emotion. This wasn't just about growing vegetables. It was about teaching her daughter life's simple but lasting lessons: patience, care, and the joy of working with one's own hands. In that little garden, even without the presence of a father, joy and laughter were never absent. There was no strong hand of a man to share the heavy work, but a mother's love was more than enough to fill the empty space. Among the simple rows of vegetables, mother and daughter still found a quiet happiness, being together, planting, caring, and hoping side by side. Sung Luyen was not only planting seeds into the soil, she was planting lessons deep into her daughter's heart. She taught her that, just like these tiny seeds, people also need patience, care, and love in order to grow. Each row of vegetables was a living reminder of her devotion, and a reflection of her strength as a single mother, carrying both the role of father and mother. Little Kieu Dung, though still so young, seemed to understand more of her mother's love with every seed she placed in the earth. Her eyes sparkled, her innocent laughter echoed across the garden, and in that moment, the absence of a father no longer weighed heavily. What remained was something far more precious: the simple joy of a small family, resilient and filled with hope.
Sung Luyen and little Kieu Dung moved to the front yard of their small thatched home. The earth was still warm beneath their hands as they knelt down to sow a few more seeds. Each tiny seed was pressed gently into the soil, like a quiet promise of tomorrow. Though the yard was simple, with only a few patches of cleared ground, it carried a sense of hope. The little girl stood close to her mother, carefully watching every movement while clutching a piece of candy in her small hand. Beside her, Sung Luyen worked patiently, covering the seeds with care, her face filled with both focus and calm determination. The air was filled with a faint scent of earth, mingled with the sweetness of a rural afternoon.
After finishing the planting, mother and daughter did not rush to rest. Sung Luyen walked over and picked up a green watering can beside the jar where water trickled